Okay, next, user rights and permissions review. All right, we need to periodically make sure that we review just basically users in general, and then we have separation of duty. All right, so that each individual user doesn't have too much access or too much control. All right, separation of duties. So in that capacity, it kind of eliminates that situation where we have rights or permissions creep. In other words, the person might have been a help desk for a while. Then 6 months later, they get moved over to maybe a junior admin or an admin. Maybe a year later, now they're in security, or maybe they get moved over to finance, or what have you. As they move around from department to department, if the organization is not diligent and removing rights as that person goes from role to role, all right, take away the rights they had before, give them just the amount of rights they need the next time around, that their rights and their permissions can kind of creep up on them, and they start to accumulate more and more. And then they basically have more than they need. So we need to make sure that we practice the rule of least permissions. All right, only provide the users with enough rights and enough permissions to do their jobs. And then, as far as accounts are concerned, we need to make sure that we disable accounts that aren't in use. All right, contractors, temporary workers, things along those lines. If they're there for 2 or 3 months, then you give them access for 2 or 3 months. All right, you have the ability within Windows and within most directory, Active Directory, LDAP, and so on and so forth, you can go ahead and say ahead of time, hey, this user is going to be here for 3 months. I'm going to grant them access for 3 months. All right, you can set that up ahead of time. Then if that user happens to come or stay on board rather longer, maybe they convert to a full-time or whatever the case might be, and maybe the contract gets extended, well, we can simply extend it at that point. It's much easier and more practical for us to set it up ahead of time, so that way we don't have to try to remember. And then if they need access further, it's very easy to extend. All right, there are also systems we can put into place that will automatically do that for us as well, and kind of preemptively say, hey, this user's got a week left. Do you want them to extend and have additional time within the system, or do we go ahead and disable them on their originally scheduled date? And if you just send back an email or go into the system, you can proactively or preemptively extend them for whatever time period is necessary. All right, so we want to disable accounts that aren't in use. All right, whether it's users that have left the company or people that have gone on extended vacations, what have you. But I would recommend that you disable, all right, don't delete the account. And why, you might ask? Well, when you delete an account, you delete the security ID or the SID or whatever OS you're using or directory service you're using. You delete that unique ID off that person. So then it's very difficult to regenerate. If they've encrypted files or if they've done things on their desktops or laptops or what have you that you need their specific unique credentials for, well, then you're out of luck unless you can recover from a backup or what have you. It's just much easier to disable the account. That way, 2 months, 3 months, a year down the road, some type of legal issue comes up, or you need just to go back and review what they've done, and you find that they have files and folders that are either specific to them, the rights are granted only to them, or they have something encrypted. Well, you need to be able to decrypt that. It's going to be very difficult to do without their actual ID. So just disable. And then after a period of time, whether it's whatever is appropriate within your organization, whether it be 6 months or a year or what have you, if a disabled account is not accessed for X period of time, then you can go ahead and delete. In the interim, I would recommend disabling.